Hello, everyone. This is Anne-Marie Duchesne at Art of Alignment. And today I wanted to review the topic of letting go of grudges, letting go of resentment, letting go of anger. And the reason that I'm sharing this with you is because over the years in my practice, I've seen a lot of physical manifestations, either dis-ease or prone to injury, a lot of visceral or heart-centered issues that show up from not letting go of grudges, from actually holding on to the resentment and the anger. And sometimes that shows up because we feel we have been either betrayed or our trust has been betrayed. And it really does show up on a physical level. Sometimes what manifests are intense migraines. We actually can get a lot of pain in the neck and shoulders. Certainly there are digestive issues that are correlated to holding on to grudges, because literally, in exactly as we're saying, holding on to grudges, well, the holding on has to happen somewhere. And it really does happen in our bodies. Everything that we experience happens in our bodies. It's never just an emotional or a psychological component. It really manifests physically. And sometimes we can be successful at downplaying it or pushing it back for a while. Although, in my experience and over the years that I've been practicing body work and alignment work, I really see that it does show up in the body. It can also show up in our dream time. It can show up on a subconscious level, where it shows up sometimes in very weird and inauspicious ways, where we think everything is going well and we're on our path doing our daily work, or in our practice, even in our own work, and some weird reaction to something or a trigger, a lot of the times we'll be triggered from someone else and we react to it in a way that's not exactly appropriate. And so these are some of the ways that grudges or resentments or anger can come out. And so I wanted to just review today part of what happens in this area of holding grudges, particularly when it comes to our organs. Now, usually when we hold on to resentment and anger, it will show up a lot of the time in the heart space. Most of us will feel either a pain or limited breathing, or we're having a hard time breathing. And so if you take the time on a daily basis just to sit for 5 minutes and just connect to that place in your body where you may be feeling tension or a lack of movement or a lack of motion, just go there with your breath and allow yourself to actually experience what's happening without running away from it. One of the best ways that I've discovered to deal with any type of pain in the body or psyche or emotional is to just sit and to connect with it so that we can actually recognize it. One of the ways to release our attachment to grudges and fears and resentment is to actually feel it. And when you take the time to feel it in your body, you will find most of the time that it passes, it is diminished. Just the fact that you are taking the time to acknowledge what's going on, where is the restriction occurring, where is the pain occurring in your body, just by bringing awareness to this place, you're going to feel a sense of release, even a sense of calm. Because the truth about it is that it's something that has not transcended through the body. It's held. There's a blockage occurring in the body. And so if you can gently start to practice the recognition of this blockage or this pain, and by this I don't mean that you revisit it and that you feel and you recount the whole history of the betrayal or where the grudge or the resentment comes from. That's not necessarily important in this case. What I am suggesting is that you take a moment to just acknowledge where this place of discomfort or pain is in your body, and just allow yourself to breathe through it. A lot of the time, whenever we acknowledge what's going on, for example, if someone acknowledges you, if you feel like someone has been rude to you, or perhaps they were short-tempered or something happened, and the other person comes to you and apologizes or acknowledges and says something like, I'm really sorry, I had a rough morning and I didn't mean to be so aggressive or assertive, or I recognize that I was rude and I really didn't mean it. As soon as we receive that information from the other person, there's a softening that occurs. When we are acknowledged, there's a softening that occurs. There's a place where we actually release our attachment to the grudge or the resentment. And it's a very healthy practice, because as long as we hold on to these grudges, actually what starts to occur is that a story entails. We create this amazing story around the betrayal, around what it is that made us angry or where we are resentful. And as you build this story up, and so the emotion of anger and resentment moves with you. So the idea, in order to keep ourselves healthy, in alignment with our greater purpose, or whatever it is that you're doing in your life that you really want to give juice and energy to, we really want to focus more on what is working and less on what's not working. And you'll notice that it's the same way. It's a double spiral. If you start to focus on what's working, the tendency is that that's where that energy will go. If you focus on what's not working, that energy will also go. What's that saying that if you think you can and if you think you can't, you're right on both counts. So what we're really talking about here today is, how do we release our relationship and the pain that comes with holding on to grudges, or the pain that stays in our bodies when we feel we've been wronged. And this is not to say that we have not been wronged. Sometimes we are wronged. The thing with that is, though, the longer that we hold on to the story or the identity that we have been wronged, the more that lives within us. The story takes more power. There is more fuel attributed to the story if you stay in that place. So the idea is to slowly start to transcend it, because there's a possibility where you may be able to bridge the space between you and whomever did you wrong, or whomever you have resentment towards. But it's also possible that you won't be able to create a bridge. We're never in charge or in control of what another person does or thinks. We are 100% responsible and in charge of what we do and what we think. And so the daily practice that I encourage you to do, even if it's 5 minutes, of just sitting and focusing on how you can release this pain. Because if you really go behind the anger, usually what shows up is sadness and pain. And if you just take a moment to acknowledge that that's going on inside of your heart, or sometimes it's in the pit of our stomachs, just be with it, breathe through it. And if you can go one step further and offer compassion to that part of you that is in pain, or that is angry, or that is resentful, it will diminish even more. And this is because you are giving a voice to the pain. You are giving this space within you an opportunity to have its say, to have its life inside of you. And then as you practice this more regularly, you will find yourself sometimes surprisingly very quickly into a deeper space of peace, where you realize that, in fact, it's taking so much energy to focus on the grudge. It's taking so much energy to be angry at another person, to hold on to it. And you slowly start to dissect and see that a lot of it is actually either a story that you've been feeding over time, and that in actuality you may be getting involved with it more than you really need to. Sometimes that grudge or resentment or anger doesn't really belong to us. We are reacting to the fact that somebody may have treated us unfairly or has betrayed us, but in fact, it's not really that much of our business. It's more of their business. And yes, you have to do the daily work to get yourself in alignment so that you can live more happily, that you can be out of this feeling and emotion of anger and resentment. You know what it is. If you go on throughout your day with anger and resentment, or you're driving your car, you're really impatient, you start honking at the people in front of you, you're just not here, you're not present. You're over here thinking about how badly the other person treated you, and all of your energy is then awarded to that place. So every day for 5 minutes, slowly start to take the time to be with yourself and just to focus on that space and listen. Maybe there is something deeper that needs to be heard from that part of your body. If you do this with consistency, you will find that you will have more love and compassion for yourself. In actuality, your deeper self just wants to know that she or he is loved, that she or he is lovable, that no matter what anyone else has done against you, that you are safe. And this type of nurturing and loving conversation with yourself will help you to move beyond this relationship to holding on to grudges. So in an effort to offer you a couple of pointers on this, I wanted to just go over a few points I wrote down here. The first one, well, we've already spoken about, was about acknowledging the hurt or pain, or acknowledging the dissatisfaction that you have with the situation. What's very helpful, and I certainly do this myself, is to write in a journal. If you can take the time to write in a journal, write down from your place of grudge or resentment. So maybe there's a part of you, the one that feels that has been wronged could potentially be your victim. So the victim part of you may need to write down what it is that she or he is feeling. For example, I feel like this person has really wronged me. Excuse me. That they were unfair. I didn't deserve this treatment. I actually feel sorry for myself because I'm really an awesome person and somebody has done something bad to me. Write it down. Let that part of you speak. Give her or him free rein so they can actually download the pain that they're having inside of your mind, inside of your body. It's very effective to write in a journal. Express your feelings full out. Also, share your feelings with a trusted friend, with someone that you trust, that you love. Don't keep it to yourself. Be careful not to isolate. Be careful not to find yourself alone dealing with this, because again, if you choose to isolate, that downward spiral will easily come to you and you will start to feel like, I'm all by myself. I don't have any friends. I can't speak to anyone about this, or I'm ashamed. My marriage should be working perfectly, but maybe it's not. Maybe your relationship with your mom isn't that great right now. Maybe you had a breakdown with your best friend. Whatever it is, there's nothing to be ashamed of. These are normal emotional processes that we go through as human beings. If we didn't go through these, we really wouldn't be human, would we? The natural chain of events of the evolution of humans, as far as I understand it, and through my work, is that we're going to have breakdowns a lot of the time. The distinction is, how long do you stay in your breakdown? How deeply do you believe in your breakdown? How much does the breakdown serve you to stay in a place that either isolates you or that brings out your victim? And I don't mean to say that the victim does not have a place. They do. My victim is amazing. When she comes out, it's poor me. Oh my, I've been wronged. And I give her her space because she's there. I acknowledge her. And every time I acknowledge her, she calms down a little bit. Because me, as the center, neutral person, I need to acknowledge these different parts of me that show up. Sometimes it's very inconvenient that they show up. I don't want my victim to show up. Sometimes I don't like my victim. If I take the time to acknowledge her, however, I do find that in acknowledging her space and what she has to say, that her force, her strength around me diminishes, and that I can come back to my center. I can come back into alignment with myself. If possible, speak to the offender. Speak to the person who you feel has wronged you. It's not always possible, but when it is, can you find a space between you and her or him? Is there a possibility? Because once you make that space, once you confront them, not in a negative way, but in a positive way, it can serve you both. The actual grudge or feeling of resentment is usually based on misunderstanding. It's usually based on one of the people who are having a hard time, that there was pain involved. You really don't usually have any grudges or feelings of resentments against someone that's not close to you. Most of these things occur with people that are close to us. So see if you can speak to the offender. Is it appropriate? Is there a space where you can create a safe space for you to communicate with this person? Releasing your expectations of people and processes. Very important. Expectation nurtures disappointment. If you show up in a space, in this case, I should say, because I don't want to be too general. It's not true of every expectation. I think some expectations are healthy, but in this case, on this topic, expectations will nurture disappointment. You expect that someone will act or do a certain way. When they don't, you're disappointed. Here, I would like to impart the possibility for you to consider taking 100% responsibility for yourself, no matter what the other person said or did. How did you show up to the table? What were your expectations? And sometimes they'll sound like this. Well, this is just normal. It's just common sense. You know, everybody knows that you should do this or that. For example, in my case, my mom taught me that whenever you go to someone's house, you bring something. You bring either flowers or a dessert or a dish or a small gift, something to show your appreciation. And she taught that to all of us, my siblings, all of us. And today, if I'm still uncomfortable to go to someone's house and not bring something. Now, this has nothing to do with the other person that's receiving me in their home. This is my expectation of myself because that's what my mother taught me. It's neither right or wrong. It's just what she taught me. So, for example, if I have guests coming to my house and they don't bring me a gift or flowers or something, I cannot be disappointed. Oh, I mean, I can be disappointed, but that's my choice. Having an expectation that they will act in a certain way based on my beliefs is not exactly fair to them. And this is why I suggest taking 100% responsibility for yourselves so that your expectations do not garner disappointment. People do as people do. If we love and accept people exactly as they are, the tendency is that we are less disappointed. And this is also true with ourselves. Removing yourself from an unjust situation. Sometimes we will garner a grudge or resentment because we're not leaving the space into which it's happening. So this has to do a little bit with self-punishment. We will stay in environments, even though we know that they're unhealthy or that they are negative or that there's toxic energy in that place. We sometimes choose to stay there for whatever reason. We're afraid to leave. We don't want to seem like we're ungrateful. What would it look like if I left? All kinds. Again, notice the stories, the beliefs behind why we would choose to stay in an unjust situation. Sometimes it's harder to get out of it than to stay in the moment. But over a long period of time, you will notice that if you maintain your space in that circle, that it just also keeps going down the downward spiral. The idea is recognize when you are in an environment that is toxic and negative and simply choose to remove yourself. You don't have to have an explanation for it. You can simply acknowledge the situation and trust yourself on this. If it doesn't feel good to you, it's probably not good for you. Have the courage to move yourself out of those situations. Because the longer you stay, you will notice that you'll create a story. You will nurture a belief around why you need to stay in that environment. Remember that the 5 closest people to you are you. They're certainly a culmination of who you are. So right now, if you think of the 5 closest people to you, who comes to mind? Are they people who love and support you? Are they people who challenge you to be your best? Are they people who acknowledge you? Are they people who accept you as you are? Can you be yourself around those people? Or are they people who tend to criticize and judge you? Are they people who tend to speak that life is hard? You know, life is hard. Making money is hard. My job sucks. I can't lose the weight. I'm not happy with my life. If that's the kind of conversation you're hearing around you, just know that you are also part of that conversation. So making an inventory every month, maybe every other month, maybe every 3rd month, to see who are the 5 closest people to you, and are these the people that you want around you? And if they're not, my suggestion is to just slowly breathe them out to the 2nd tier. So you have your 5 closest people to you that are here. Those are your supporters, the ones who love you, that you trust, that trust you. And then if you breathe out to the 2nd tier, it doesn't mean that you don't love these. It just means that they don't need to be the closest ones to you because of their own limiting beliefs. And we're not blaming or judging them. We're just looking presently at how we want to live our lives in a state of empowerment, of alignment, and dealing with emotions that show up, such as having resentment or anger. But if you keep the people close to you that make you angry or that nurture negativity, well, again, we really want to look at ourselves and see, where are we taking full responsibility in our lives, and without judgment, but more from a place of compassion and self-acceptance and love. Because truly, in my practice, I found that there's always one thing that works. It never fails. No matter all the techniques or methods or education, the one thing that always works is approaching my clients, my students, with love. Whenever I falter from this place, if I have a moment where I'm either too assertive or I impose my belief on someone else, a distance is created. And I notice this. And of course, like everyone else, I continue to work on myself and my own relationship to taking 100% responsibility. And as I do so, I do get into a better relationship with myself. And I become much more aware of what's going on around me and the type of people that I nurture in my circle. So, removing yourself from unjust situations, focus on forgiving the person or organization. Forgiveness is a tricky one sometimes because as much as we want to forgive, unless we truly do the work of acknowledging the disappointment, we probably won't be able to get to that place of forgiveness. It'll be a temporary forgiveness. Learning to forgive is really choosing to go deeper within and taking the time to acknowledge what has really occurred between you and that person or situation. And first and foremost, forgiving yourself. Forgiving yourself for reacting, forgiving yourself for being so involved in potentially a dramatic exchange that may not necessarily need to be living in that way. Forgive yourself for feeling like you have anger. Forgive yourself for being resentful. It's normal to have these emotions. The longer you stay in them, however, can affect the quality of your health. And I'm not just talking about your emotional health. I'm talking about your physical health. I'm talking about how you walk down the street every day. Do you have this sense of joy? Are you elated with your life? Are you just thankful and grateful to be alive? Are you grateful because the sun is shining or because it's raining? Are you grateful because you're aging gracefully, because you have a wonderful family and friends that care and love you? Are you grateful because you're going to catch a movie, you're going to play hooky and go to the movies one afternoon? Are you happy because you're having your cup of coffee or tea in the morning? These simple pleasures are what construct our lives. It's not the big goals. It's really how we live our lives on a daily basis and living in a space where we are honestly connected to ourselves, where we can actually forgive ourselves for whatever it is that we may not like about us. Maybe that somebody else has a grudge against you. Maybe that you've done something to hurt somebody else, and there's nothing that you can do about it. The other person is just angry with you. That's a difficult situation to deal with as well. And so the more you connect to yourself on a deeper level, the more you can forgive yourself, your tendency will be to be more generous and forgiving in general. It is a daily practice, and it really works. Choosing peaceful and productive thoughts. Well, we can read a lot about developing a positive mindset, about being more productive with our thoughts, affirmations. All of these things work. I certainly practice them every day. And one of the most successful ways to actually be in that space is to live it on a daily basis. So choosing to be kind to the clerk at the bank whenever you go get your green juice in the morning, being especially energetic and bubbly to the person at the cashier or the cashier, being grounded in yourself and thinking about, wow, here I am awakening with another day ahead of me. Here I am awakening with breath. I have my health. Overall, you have your health. For the most part, most people have their health, even if it's not 100%. Even if you don't have all of your limbs. Even if you have a so-called chronic condition. Even if you have a debilitating disease. You are alive. You're alive right now. Life is in you. And so choosing to nurture this perspective, this outlook on life, changes everything. Because you realize that you really have 24 hours, maybe, to do the best that you can and to live to your optimal space to live in optimal alignment. Maybe we have another 24 hours. Choosing to live life in the moment, in the present moment, is a very healthy way to live. It's not always easy. It is a practice. And the more you practice it, the more you find yourself where you need to be. And the less you worry about these outside things that can be destructive if you give them more fuel. Finally, almost finally, two last things. Holding a letting go ceremony in the privacy of your office, meditation room, your extra bedroom, maybe outside in your own backyard. Have a letting go ceremony. You can burn incense or sage, or maybe you can write out all the resentments and anger that you have in reference to a person or situation, and just create a little ceremony for yourself and burn that paper away. Let it go. Create a sacred and safe space for yourself so that you can release the energy around that resentment. If you don't, it's going to linger. It's going to be there. If you do let it go, even if it does show up sometimes, again, mostly at inopportune times, you can handle it better because you have a relationship to it. It doesn't control you. You don't lose your mind over it. You're not in a state of constant reactivity. And this is a practice that you can do all day long. You can let it go all day long. You can choose to be at peace and in alignment with yourself. You can say that as you're walking down the street. I choose to be at peace and alignment with myself. I release all feelings of grudge or resentment in my life. May I be at peace. May I be healthy. May I be happy. Keep repeating these mantras all day long until the grudge or the anger or the resentment starts to diminish. It works. Practice it every day. Let go. Release it. It's not worth it for you to hold on to it. Your life is now. Your life is happening in this moment as you're watching this video. Choose to nurture thoughts and mantras, affirmations that will empower you, that will make you feel like you are in love with your life, that you're here, that there's so much more to do while you're here, that you can contribute in such a large way towards so many people. And slowly let go of the resentment, let go of the anger. You can even join a support group, a community, whether it's a church or a Buddhist community, a meditation group, a fitness community, bike riding, whatever it is. Joining a community of people, being in a space where you are actually energizing yourself helps to put the resentment and anger and grudges in the background. They're not here all the time. And slowly with time, as you practice this, it will diminish. And you will be able to let it go completely. Finally, practice gratitude on a daily basis. Practice gratitude. I am so grateful for my health. I am so grateful for my life. I am so grateful for all of those who have helped me to bring me where I am today. I'm so grateful for my work. I am so grateful for my friends. I am so grateful that I get to eat food every day on my table. I am so grateful that I can make money doing something I love. I am so grateful that I have extra time to go out for a weekend, to go up north. I am so grateful that I have all of my limbs. I am so grateful that my organs are working properly. I am so grateful because I can see the sun. I am so grateful because I can feel the sun. Practice gratitude on a daily basis, all day long. As soon as you hear or you feel this resentment or anger or grudge showing up, just transform it. You can acknowledge it and then transform it for a gratitude. I am so grateful for my heart. I am so grateful that I have such beautiful clothing. I am so grateful that I can wake up every morning and smell the air, the fresh air. I am so grateful to live in a country where there is order in my city. No matter how wacky the government can be at times, we are safe for the most part. We are very safe here in North America. Practice gratitude daily. And on this note, I would like to say thank you for watching this video. Thank you for considering these suggestions, and I will look forward to seeing you very soon. Bye.